Hello everyone, welcome to Dark Souls 2, Let's Talk Lore. I'll talk a little bit more about what this series is going to be after the intro sequence.
Perhaps you've seen it, maybe in a dream, a murky, forgotten land. A place where souls may mend your ailing mind. You will lose everything. Once branded, the symbol of the curse, an augur of darkness. Your past, your future, your very light. None will have meaning, and you won't even care. By then, you'll be something other than human. A thing that feeds on souls, a hollow. Long ago, in a walled-off land far to the north, a great king built a great kingdom. I believe they called it Drang Lake. Perhaps you're familiar. No, how could you be? But one day, you will stand before its decrepit gate without really knowing why. Like a moth drawn to a flame, your wings will burn in anguish, time after time. For that is your fate, the fate of the cursed.
Alright, so we find ourselves in things Betwixt, and just thinking about what we just saw, the intro, because I haven't watched it in that level of detail in quite some time. it's a great deal more specific to the chosen undead than was the intro in Dark Souls 1. But the interesting thing about that is just that, well, not so much interesting as it is that you lose a lot of the overarching story. But as I'll argue throughout this playthrough, overarching story isn't something that Dark Souls, I was going to say isn't something that it does well, but it's something that it does really well, is the fact that it makes the story wonderful and enriches it because there is no overarching story. That the story is largely not up entirely to interpretation. They certainly set the boundaries, but what you place within those boundaries is often up to you and to your fellow members of the community. And I think that's what makes it so special. But I'm not going to talk at length about that. I will say that I guess we have another brief cutscene coming up, and then I'll continue talking about what this series will be.
What seems to be the ruckus?
Oh my, your face. The face of the curse. It's an undead. An undead has come to play. They all end up here. All the ones like you. You spoke to that kind old dear, didn't you?
You're finished. You'll go hollow. Yes, you'll become one of them.
Hollows prey upon men, feast upon their souls. This is the fate of the cursed.
What is your name?
Okay, this build isn't going to be anything special because this run is not so much about the build as it is just exploring the lore of Dark Souls 2 post patch 1.1, the patch that added this lore, or this playthrough, you should be watching it only if you don't care about spoilers, because the game's been out long enough. Doing this largely to kill time before Bloodborne comes out. But yeah, you shouldn't be watching this if you are concerned at all about spoilers, whether for the base game, the DLC, or the patch 1.1 that added all the Scholar of the First Sin. So,
At least you know your own name. Here's your reward for sharing. It's a human effigy.
Take a closer look.
Who do you think it's supposed to be? Think back, deep into your past. Yes, it's an effigy of you.
So this build is going to be a pretty standard Aegon of Astora build, that is to say, quality build and kind of run-of-the-mill. I don't want to spend much time on the character creation now, so I'll just give him some fancy looking hair. I really don't like this default face, so I'm going to hit random and hope that they all don't look ridiculous, which they tend to. Yeah, let's go with this one. And then we're going to be wearing a helmet anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go, we're going to go with, for our class, probably Explorer I usually go with. Cannot recall. I think it's the warrior. Yeah, we're going to go with the warrior, and for our gift, we're going to get a bonfire ascetic because it's not quite a sure thing as the master key was from Dark Souls 1, but certainly up there. And yeah, that's about it.
All people come here for the same reason. To break the curse.
You're no different, I should think. Doesn't stand a chance.
Well, you never know. Go through the door and trot along to the kingdom.
But remember, hold on to your souls. They're all that keep you from going hollow. Oh, I'll fool you no longer. You'll lose your souls. All of them. Over and over again.
That part of the intro, I really still don't really see the point of it, other than to just scare new players and be like, yeah, this game is so hard. But yes, the Dark Souls games are hard, but that's not what makes them good. What makes them good is not difficulty, but challenge and reward. But I'll get into that later. So, just trying to think of how... I have no grand plan for how this is all going to play out. So, what I am going to do, at least to start off, is more or less just play the game as I would offline, and not necessarily doing... although I am playing online. By offline, I mean when I'm just playing by myself. I don't think I'm going to bother with the Agape Ring or anything like that. Or Agape, however it's pronounced. Definitely not going to bother with the tutorial for now. But yeah. Although, I guess I could... I'm not going to force myself to speak about the lore for each and every area. Certainly, especially when I don't really have anything good to say. But returning to what I was saying about the intro, I suppose that it was necessary for Dark Souls 1 to have that kind of overarching story, at least in the beginning, to lay out the general boundaries, as I mentioned. I love walking into Majula. Certainly. I'm playing on the Xbox 360, so graphics certainly are not as good as, say, how Bloodborne looks, but grab a Divine Blessing, which of course was tied to the Princess of Sunlight. Holy water endowed with a divine blessing. Cures status effects and fully restores HP. Water blessed by an ancient goddess. Her name is long forgotten. Gwendolyn. Guinevere. Pardon me. And the Magic Academy of Melfia denies her even her existence. In any age, there are those who refuse to see reason. It is meddling that distorts the truth. Not sure what in the world that means, but sure. Dark Souls 2's item descriptions have been criticized for either ending with a question or a very vague statement that doesn't necessarily say very much at all. But we're going to leave that for now. Just doing right now what I call the Majula circle. I start down there, and then I go grab some upgrade materials, and we're going to need to become friends with Malin because he will allow us to read more item descriptions for bosses and whatnot. Grab some Titanite shards there. We're not going to bother talking about for now, of course. Next thing is grabbing this Estus Flash Shard. Cute. So I wonder what, like, Just like to think sometimes, oh, is this guy hung? Oh, wow. Jeez. That's pretty grim. Yeah. I'm not gonna go say what's up to Shalquar just yet, unless she's... Is she? No. Sometimes you can talk to her through the wall there. And there was a thread on the Dark Souls 2 subreddit at one point. Someone wondering why the dead merchant was only there about half the time. Because sometimes if you walk up here, you can talk to Shalquar through the wall. And even if that guy was trolling, that's still pretty hilarious. Thinking that that was the merchant and complaining as to why the merchant only talked to him every 3 or 4 refreshes of the Majula kind of arrangement. Let's grab some Homer Bone. We're not going to be joining the Company of Champions or anything like that. This is not a challenge run by any means, as I mentioned. It's more just to serve as a platform to talk about the lore. We're not going to talk, as I said, I don't have a grand plan for this or anything. It's not... I toyed with the idea of calling it Dark Souls 2 in-depth, but then I'm like, following in the tradition of Franz, a German spy, his in-depth playthrough of Demon Souls, and
You're
potentially upcoming...
undead, aren't you? You have that distinct scent, the smell of irreversible fate. This is Majula. It is a kind of settlement. A place where life is almost normal. And in Drang Lake these days, there are very few places like that. I am Solden. And like you, I lost everything. And now I'm here. You probably heard that it was possible to break the curse here. Well, that's not true at all. There's nothing here for you, me, or anybody. Do you know much about souls? Even I'm not certain, but I'm told that the soul is the essence of life itself. Anything living, sentient or no, supposedly has one. What we call the curse is traceable to the soul. Do you see what that means? To be alive, to walk this earth. That's the real curse, right there. We undead will never die. And that's quite a predicament, really. There are 4 beings in this land with giant souls. And wherever you go from here, you'll sooner or later come up against them. Each has a powerful soul and a terrible curse. If that frightens you, then you ought to just give up right now, like I have. Do you ever cry out for help? The journey of an undead is if you remove protection.
We are going to join the Way of Blue, if for no other reason than to try and give the Blue Sentinels a purpose for
that is a wise
existing.
People let the Sentinel.
So we'll talk more about that when we go to.
Lonely here. It suits me just fine. It will.
Sorry, I gotta stop talking over dialogue. So we'll talk about more the Blue Sentinels when we get to Hyde's Tower of Flame. But for the time being,
on your journey.
Yeah, as I was saying, I was toying around with the idea of calling this Dark Souls 2 in depth, but then in the tradition, or following in the footsteps of Franz, a German spy, and his Demon Souls in depth playthrough. But I figured that would be kind of disingenuous, just because it wouldn't be nearly as in depth as the series that would have inspired the name, And I felt comfortable considering the idea initially, knowing that Franz is likely never going to do a Dark Souls 2 in-depth playthrough, because he still hasn't even done a Dark Souls 1 in-depth, and he puts a lot of research into it. So then I figured, okay, well, why don't we just call it Dark Souls 2 somewhat in-depth? And yeah, I went through a whole bunch of permutations.
Are you the next monarch? Or merely a pawn of fate? Bearer of the curse, I will remain by your side till this frail hope shatters. Take this with you. May it ease your journey. Go on and see the king. He who made Drangleic what it once was. He who peered at the essence of the soul. King Vendrick.
Until I landed on, sorry for continuing the thought right after that, and then I landed on Dark Souls 2, Let's Talk Lore. And I will eventually probably do the same for Dark Souls 1. But as soon as I finish this, it's likely that Bloodborne will be out, and so I'll be doing a blind run of that. But returning to what the Emerald Herald just gave us. A green glass bottle of unknown make, fill it with Estus at a bonfire, and drink from it to restore HP. The nature of the link between the Estus flask and the bonfires that illuminate the world of the undead is entirely unknown. But that is of little concern, for any undead knows the value of these precious flasks indeed. Estus flask. Shard. Shard of an Estus flask. Shards are deeply soaked in Estus. Graft... I'm laughing thinking about a post someone made on the Dark Souls 2 subreddit once of an Estus flask just with a bunch of shards taped to it. That's, yeah. Graft the shard to an Estus flask to increase flask usage. Over the ages, countless souls rested their bones as they drank from the original flask. And now the shard remains, serving as a vestige of their hopes and dreams. Interesting. Let's continue talking to the Emerald Herald channel lot.
Bearer of the curse, seek misery. For misery will lead you to greater, stronger souls. You will never meet the king with a soul so frail and pallid. Seek those whose names are unutterable. The four endowed with immense souls. Their souls will serve as beacons. Once you have found them, return here to me, so that hope will not fade away.
So, I guess very similar to Dark Souls 1, except things are made a little bit more explicit than they were in Dark Souls 1. Whereas in Dark Souls 1, the whole idea of the curse... Let me just pop off this helmet because it's driving me nuts. The whole idea of the curse was made essentially to funnel potential replacements for Gwyn to the kiln of the first flame, where they would rekindle the flame and to keep the Age of Light going temporarily. And the idea is essentially exactly the same here. Another thing to note is that if you look really closely, and it's not as prevalent here as it is... Yeah, here actually it looks almost like snow. There's like little gray particles floating around. But when we go to the Force of Fallen Giants, you'll notice that they become golder particles, which I believe are embers from the flame that is fading. Similar to... You can see similar particles in Dark Souls 1, although they're much more pronounced in this game. Especially in the Undead Burg. And if you go to Ulasil, near the Abyss, the embers are actually black, indicating the spread of the Abyss. But I digress.
Is that a shard you found? Here, let me see it.
So
However...
Yes. So we're going to give her our Estus Flash shards. We got 2. We're about 25 minutes in now. And yeah, I wanted this video to serve mostly just as an introduction to the series. There's going to be a lot of listening to dialogue. This guy's popping some souls. A lot of listening to dialogue, a lot of reading item descriptions, and just exploring the lore together. If you have any comments of things you would like to see, or would like to see less of, or more of, or anything like that, you can leave it in the comment section below. I wanted originally to keep these at about 30 minutes a piece, but I personally enjoy Dark Souls Let's Play videos or episodes that are about an hour in length. So I'm going to keep it at 30 minutes for now, just because it'll be easier to edit and upload. But let me know if you're like me and you would prefer longer episodes. I know we didn't do a whole lot in this one, but that's because of all the cutscenes and everything. I'm just getting set up. So I'll probably upload this. I'm going to record a batch of these now, and I'll probably upload this alongside episodes 2, 3, maybe even 4, just so that I'm not uploading a series, the only parts of which you get to see are me just standing around in Majula, spinning my camera around and talking. So, but that'll be it for this one. So I hope you'll join me next time, and I haven't turned you off of this series already. Let me know if you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.